one episode where they got to actually just sit and talk about themselves. So it was a big deal for them, and I just wanted to provide a safe space for them to explore a different aspect of their characters because I knew it was really important to them, in a way. So I was just of service, and I felt very clearly I'm here to serve you, to help you explore this aspect of your character that you've never been able to do before. Because I'm new. This is not actually about me at all. This is about you, but I got to do really great speeches because my character is a talking therapist, right? So she's like, let me tell you all about my life so you will now tell me about your life. So let's expedite this like trust thing because we're doing it because they lost a member of their team, which is why I was there as a therapist. So one of their team died. And I'm just like, okay. So I had this long speech about how I used to rappel down mountains and I was doing some kind of drop and then my legs shattered and then my team had to then save me and couldn't save the dog. I could hear the dog screaming in the house, and I'm like, but save the dog. They're like, no, we have to save you now. I'm like, oh. So that whole thing and how my character got over that was because my character had a therapist come and talk me out of the deepest, darkest hole that I'd ever been in, and then that's how I knew that I could still be of service as a firefighter. So it was written, the way it was written was so clear, and all I had to kind of do was say the words and listen to the actors and support them and their journey on the show, and it was so rewarding to me because it felt like actual therapy. We were actually in a session, and it was so funny because I had just started my own therapy journey in my own personal life. Again, I have bouts of therapy. Like I went to therapy in college, and I went again after blah blah blah. You know, I had just started therapy again, so it was very very meta to me, and I was so honored that I get to play this character and help these actors, and also help the characters, and also help the audience. So yeah, it's a big deal to me.
So we are a queer firefighters panel, so I'm going to ask some queer questions. I wanted to ask Katie, were you out to your house when you first joined your firehouse?
No. No, I wasn't actually. To be honest, I wasn't out for many years in my career because I felt like I wanted to be known for my performance and my work ethic and not as the lesbian or gay female firefighter, which there are a lot of actually. So it's not like I would have stood out. But for me, I wasn't comfortable for a long time actually being out and inviting my partner to events, and which was sad that I didn't get to experience that. Once I realized, like, I don't really care what other people think, and I have proved myself, and my performance speaks for itself. Thank you. Once I realized that, yeah, much happier, both obviously in my personal life and at work.
And then your character has a coming out journey on the show as well, on 911 Lone Star. So I wanted to know, because Tarlos, everyone knows Tarlos and TK, and they're now engaged. Yeah. No spoilers. So what was that kind of like playing that on screen, I guess?
Wait, the relationship?
Oh no! Like the starting the relationship off, I guess, on screen.
Started off with a, hey, want
I
to dance?
had the audacity to say that, didn't I?
Want to dance?
Yeah.
And I like, yep.
And
the rest is history. No, but yeah, the writing, man. It's like that's how it all begins. It's the writing on the page. We were really, really lucky. We had Ryan Murphy, Brad Falchuk, and of course Tim Minear, who's our showrunner. And they built these beautiful characters, and then they built this beautiful relationship. And they clearly had big aspirations for the couple. I don't know if they thought it was going to be this epic, so that's because of you guys, so thank you. But, it starts on the page, and it's just a really honest, beautiful, complicated relationship. And we've been through a lot in the show, and as many of you know, we just got engaged. So to go from, hey, want to dance, to will you marry me? It's a beautiful, beautiful journey. And yeah, I love Tarlos, man. I love them so much.
I look for that as well. I've said this in so many interviews, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, like I'm a broken record, so I'm going to do it again. I look for that as well in my personal life, in books, in films, in television. Where are the gays at? Like, where are the queer stories at? That's because this is my world. That's your world. That's your world, you know? And I think it's so crazy to me that any story being told does not include, first of all, a queer character of color, or a person of color of a different background, because the sun shines for all of us. If you go outside and you encounter someone with an umbrella and the sun is just hot on you, and they come up to you and they put that umbrella on top of you and they say, the sun doesn't like you, it doesn't belong to you, you just look at them like, what? Get away from me, bye. And then you continue walking, because that light belongs to you, belongs to all of us. There is space for all of us. You don't need to come to me with your umbrella and try to hide me and put that shade on me. So for me, every story that is told needs to include that, because that's just the world that we live in. And if that's not your reality, well, get out of the house. Go find that reality in which that world does exist. Don't discriminate because your ignorance is the leading part of is the leading role in your storyline. You know what I'm saying? So I get to do that. I get to play that. So yeah, I'd sprinkle that stuff on that scene because I want to see that on screen as well. So yeah, I put the spice on it.
One of the things that I love about 911 Lone Star, just because I haven't seen it very often, is to see a trans firefighter on screen. So I wanted to say thank you for bringing Paul to life. But I was also like, when we were discussing putting this panel, you had also found you were talking to other trans firefighters. So I wanted to know what that experience was like, preparing to be Paul and then speaking with other trans firefighters.
Well, preparing to be Paul, I mean, I drew a lot from my own experiences just as a trans man and not seeing much trans masculine representation anywhere, period. Like, I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I went to school in Kent, Ohio, and, you know, felt very isolated for a long time because the only representation that I'd seen of any trans people had been, like, on screen. A lot of negative representation. We were only allowed to be, you know, like the villains or the victims of something, or, you know, the butt of a joke or something like that, or, you know, and so I knew I was different, but I didn't know that there was any other context for me. So I was like, I'm just going to navigate this world being this different person that I am. So when I got to college and I started to really confront these challenges I was having with who I was and what the world was putting on me, I was looking for, there has to be, you know, something else. Like, there has to be a solution for me because I can't see a future for myself. You know, I remember I was in this acting class and I had a professor tell me after I brought a scene in that I couldn't do this role between, like, these two guys because no one's ever going to see you like that. Like, you're a black woman and no one's ever going to see you. I was like, what? And it's like, it doesn't feel true, but he's not wrong. And I just couldn't deal with that. And I'm like, well, how can I ever be me? And, like, what future am I going to have for myself? And that's when I really, like, opened my mind up to even, like, explore, like, and look for, are there other people like me? You know, I know there's male to female, but is there female to male? Does that even exist? And I, you know, went to Jeeves. I asked Jeeves because it was pre-Google. I'm old. and, like, I came across, you know, like, Jameson Green had a web page, and he was promoting his book, and he was a trans man, and he had transitioned, and, like, he's living his life as a man. He's using his voice and his experience to help other people. And he was a beacon of light for me, like, from far away. And when I was at Kent, I think by my senior year, they were doing a Pride issue of their, like, magazine. And I found that there was another trans guy in Ohio. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. So just having that localized, face-to-face meeting with another person like me gave me so much strength. And I'm like, I want to do that for other people. I don't know how just yet. I know I want to do it through performance, but that's what I want to do. And so that just kind of stayed inside of me for a long time. So as I got out of school, I graduated, I learned video and film production. I'm like, if they're not making it, I'm going to learn how to make it. So I learned the behind-the-scenes stuff in addition to the acting. And then when I moved to New York, I was working at the LGBT Center in Manhattan, and I'm working with these young people, and I'm like, pushing them. I'm putting the wind in their sails. Like, don't let anybody stop you from what you, oh my God, I let somebody stop me from what I want to do. I have to take my own advice, you know, and like what better way to do that than to show them by doing it myself. So I ended up leaving the center and really pursuing my career in acting. I went very much like Katie, where I was like, I am going to become the best actor that I can be. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get some training. I went to the William Esper Studio. I'm going to really learn how to act, and then I'm going to act. And if a role comes up that allows me to explore this part of myself, I'll go for it. But I'm not walking in the door with it because I'm in a position of privilege where I have a choice on whether or not I disclose. And I want that choice to be meaningful, you know? And so it wasn't until 2017 when I saw a breakdown for a role. I didn't even know what the project was, but it was like, we're looking for a black trans police officer. I'm like, I've played cops. I love, like, procedurals. I'm black. I'm trans. What is this? And I submitted for it, and it was for Ava DuVernay's Queen Sugar. And I'm like, I wanted to work with Ava for years. So and I read the scene, and I was like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. It's going to allow me to be fully authentic and show a side of the black trans masculine experience that people don't get to see. And it was this scene between me and a former friend, and I'm expressing gratitude for him for being an ally. And even though he wasn't a perfect ally, he didn't know anything about it. He just stood up for me when I was in school, in high school at the time. And I'm meeting him in this point in his life, and he needs help. And I'm in a place where I'm sturdy and I'm on my feet and I'm so embodied in who I am as a person that I'm giving him advice. So it was a really beautiful, like, scene to show, like, how much life there is beyond transition and coming out and all this stuff. It's like, here's this fully embodied black trans man giving this black man some man-to-man advice and expressing gratitude. And it was like, it was beautiful. So it allowed me to do that. And then since then, the response, because it hadn't been seen before, has been so overwhelmingly positive. Like, I was ready for, like, here comes the hate, here comes this, and, like, there's some of that sprinkled in here, and I know a lot of people experience that, you know, I don't want to dismiss that, but, like, for some reason at this moment in my life and when I came out, you know, with Queen Sugar, the response has been real-world people going, thank you for being visible. I didn't know that I could. I didn't know that I had a future, and it always takes me back to college when I felt the same way, and I came across Jameson Green, where I thank you, you know. I actually got to meet him a couple summers ago at this camp, and I got to say that to his face, which was a really beautiful thing to say. Thank you for, like, putting your story in the pages, and I want to do that, not just with my own personal Brian story, but as an actor, as an artist, I can do things that I didn't experience, you know, yet, and, like, take bigger stories and reach more people. You know, I love that this show is on, like, Fox because it goes into the middle of America to people who, you know, are under the shade, who are under the umbrella, and just, you know, whether by choice or whatever, that's just where they were born. They don't even know they're under the umbrella. But here I am coming into your living room and saying, hi, yes, we out here, and we're doing these things, and we're not whatever some other person has told you we are. I'm going to show you, you know, iterations of who and what trans masculinity can be that you don't know that you don't know.
Thank you. And then, Tracy, one of the things I really enjoy about seeing on 911 is seeing kind of the relationship of someone who's in a fire department and then their partner. Again, to see the journey that they go through on screen when one person doesn't actually work in the same field. Your character's a rocket scientist, so it's not like, you know, you're no slouch in that particular relationship with Hen.
No, I'll pull my weight.
But
We
I
live in
wanted
a nice
to.
house.
But one of the things I really enjoy about watching that on screen is kind of just seeing just how much that person's also involved, like, with engaging with the fire department, because it's essentially a family. And I think one of the things that's really great about all the firefighter shows, and there's going to be a firefighter show in every major network in the fall, and each one of them has a queer character, which is phenomenal. Thank the networks, I guess. So I kind of wanted to know, like, what went into playing Karen a bit, like how. You said that you already know Aisha, which is great, but, like, what is it like kind of like interacting with your character, especially when they interact with the rest of the fire department?
Well, it's interesting because Aisha and I have known each other for about 20 years. And both of us happen to be straight, hetero, whatever that, you know. We happen to be hetero, but we both have an extensive career of playing queer characters. And we are both so grateful to have the opportunity to represent the community as well as we can. And we're also very grateful that the community has accepted